Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, we're starting a little bit after 4, but this is our first time going live on YouTube. So thank you for bearing with us. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Protecting Your Farm Business. We'll be talking about different agricultural business related topics. Our first series will be about succession planning. So I wanted to start off by introducing myself. My name's Ashlee Westerhold. I am an area extension economist with the University of Idaho Extension. And I thought to myself this week, what a better time to talk about succession planning. The events in recent weeks have really changed our lives. We're adapting to the requirements of social distancing. There's no better time, though, to connect with our family members. And I think this is really important concept. We have a lot of applications that allow us to connect to our family members with being in the comfort of our own home and in this idea of social distancing. So you might think of Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, Google Duo. You can connect with family members with emails, text messages. You can even call someone. So I'm a millennial, so you probably don't believe that I pick up the phone to call anyone, but I do. And I think it is a great way to keep connecting with those family members and keep us being social, even if we are distant. Today was not my plan to talk about how you can connect with your family members, but what you might want to be connecting with them about. So, have you discussed the transition of the farm and ranch with your family? I don't think a lot of people do. I think it's a very tough subject to discuss, especially with family members. However, I think that it is great to bring these topics to light and start getting into the headspace of thinking of these things. So I think as we are sitting at home, it's a great time to reflect on the past, but also a great time to plan for the future. I know that we are just providing this YouTube live for maybe the next 4 weeks on succession planning, which seems like a short period of time. But I wanted to let you know that we're going to continue to talk about succession planning even after these YouTube lives. And I just wanted to say we will be doing this for the next 4 weeks on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. And I'll be going live and you can ask questions. I do have someone helping me answer those questions. And so you might see others that will join me in this live. I have asked some of my colleagues to be joining me in further weeks, so it might not just be Ashlee. So I wanted to move on and talk about what the topic was today. So as this is the first week in our first live, I wanted to talk about setting up a family meeting. This might sound like a very straightforward concept. However, there is a lot of work that needs to be done before setting up a family meeting. That way it is done correctly. So the objective of setting up a family meeting is making sure that this meeting can go efficiently and effectively. This is not an ordinary meeting. This is a meeting that talks about succession planning or estate planning. The transition. It's not just a meeting to find out how calving is going, or if you started planting. This is a meeting that needs to discuss the transition of the business. And so one of the people that I work with, and I'm very grateful to have them in the state of Idaho, is a person named Dick Whitman. And he is a farm family business consultant up in northern Idaho. He is around the United States and Canada, but he provides a sample family meeting agenda, which in the description of this live video, there is a link to the tools and resources where I have linked the sample family agenda. But he tells you what should be discussed in these family meetings and what shouldn't be discussed in the family meetings. And so it is really great to align this family meeting with the idea of succession planning. So I think one of the things we need to do before conducting a family meeting is to maybe get everyone who is involved in the family business on the same page of what this meeting could be about. So my team of ag economists and county extension educators came together and came up with 2 questionnaires. One is for an owner to potential heir, and one is a potential heir to an owner. And these questionnaires actually can help lend you some great tools in this process. So the university had to come up with these questionnaires to help guide families in this discussion. So I just wanted to read some of the questions that you will find in these questionnaires. Again, these are all linked in the description box of where you can find these, and you can print them and use them with your own families. You can also edit them and make sure that the questions could maybe align with what your goals are for a family meeting when talking about succession planning. But I wanted to read some of the questions out for you. So an owner to a potential heir worksheet, the owner is sitting down with these potential heirs. And what is the question you might want to ask first? Well, does anyone want to take over this farm or ranch? I think that's a great question. And if you send this to your family before a family meeting, they can think about that for a good time before having to come up with an answer for that question. I also really enjoy coming up with this question which is, what strengths could you bring to the business? So this is a business. We need to treat the farm or ranch as a business. And I think what we need to concentrate on is what kind of personality strengths or leadership strengths could the next generation bring into the business that might make them the best leader when it comes to the next transition or the next generation of the business. So if you are on the other side and you are a potential heir and you're trying to talk to the owner, this could be the matriarch or patriarch, some questions you might ask them. What are your expectations if someone was to come back to the farm or ranch? How would you like the transition of management to happen? And what would you like your role to be in the operation if you retire? So I know a lot of farmers and ranchers do not plan on retiring, but would they enjoy just driving tractor? Would they enjoy just checking cows? Maybe not the paperwork, maybe not the record keeping. These could be questions that can be answered at these family meetings. So I also just wanted to give a couple of helpful tips when we're talking about these family meetings. So if you ask your family members to fill questions out and maybe send them to you so you could have read through all of their answers, that might be a great way to cut back on some of the time that would be spent at a family meeting. And that way everyone would feel as though their voice was heard and that they were listened to. So I think you should set a deadline, though, if you are planning to collect the questionnaires back from people. That way they know you are serious and you are running it like a business. So when we think of a family meeting, maybe we think of hosting it at the home place. Maybe we think of the meeting around the dinner table where all the family members are in their respective spots. However, when we do this, we kind of have already established these power moves. Maybe this meeting should be in a neutral spot. I know that's hard to say now, again, with the social distancing. You should not necessarily leave the home, but we can plan. We can plan for the time when this is lifted. Maybe the family could sit in different spots around the home place. Throw dad into the middle of the table instead of maybe at the end. The purpose of this is to make sure all parties involved are working on an even playing field. I think kids might be more likely to question mom and dad or ask for clarification at a point where they feel neutralized instead of feeling as though they were still a kid and being in the same spot they've always been in their whole lives. So a couple more tips I would recommend is to make sure you set ground rules for a meeting. I took a mediation training. One of my colleagues and I took a mediation training in Wyoming. And one of the biggest takeaways for me was this idea of setting ground rules in these meetings. So if you have some dominant, extroverted family members versus maybe the quiet types, it is always great to set ground rules so that one person is not dominating the discussion. I think that having a ground rule of one person speaking at a time and then others waiting for them to finish and then they can talk to them is a great ground rule. Once these meetings start, we could potentially see some family members curling up and hiding. And we just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak and we make sure that everyone does try to speak. If they don't want to vocalize their opinion, again, that's a great reason to send out these questionnaires and try to collect them back. They still have ideas, even if they don't like to vocalize them. So I believe a great way to maybe start this family meeting would be to start with a good opening dialogue. So whoever called the meeting, I think it would be great for them to start. So you should thank everyone for making the effort to come to the family meeting. You want this family meeting to be efficient and effective in the beginning of the process of succession planning. I think that we should respect each other and make sure that when someone is talking, we do not interrupt. If we have something we would like to say, write it down. And then after the person is done talking, you can speak when you want to say something. So I think when we talk about this idea of mutual respect and not interrupting, it can be very beneficial, especially when it comes to families. So it's always hard to implement ground rules when it comes to family members or rules in general. But if you do vocalize these things and actually say them out loud, maybe the family members will actually start to listen. So I believe in this situation, it is usually best if a patriarch, mom or dad, or patriarch or matriarch could start these meetings. Because it is their operation. So they're the ones who took the operation and are the owners of the operation. So it is their wishes what they can do with this operation. So I cannot stress enough, though, that if mom and dad are still married and together, they should probably be united front in these meetings. It would not be beneficial for mom and dad to not agree on their wishes for the operation when meeting with the other parties involved. This could be a large point of meeting. So today I want these lives, well, for the next couple of weeks, I want these lives to be pretty short, just some information for you at home. And so this topic is just many of what we can talk about. And I wanted to provide you some food for thought. Maybe you're planting and calving, so you're not even home practicing maybe self-isolation or shelter in place. Maybe you are very busy, but you can listen to this in your tractor on YouTube. So hopefully this has been helpful. I will now open live up for any questions if anyone has joined me live. If not, I will be reading the comments. And so if you do not want to ask questions on the live, feel free to email me. My information is also in this section, the information section of the video. So thank you for listening. And I will ask Jason, who is with me right now, to read me off some questions if we have any.
I just sent you one in a text. So.
Okay, can you read it out loud for me?
Yes. For these meetings, what happens if a family member refuses to meet or does not want to talk openly and is very avoidant of such meetings?
So, great question. I think that when family members are avoiding the subject or avoiding these family meetings, they do have something to say, which brings again into the usefulness of using these questionnaires and having them write out what their wishes are, what they believe is right. And that way it doesn't have to be discussed openly with the other parties involved, but if they want their opinion to be known, it should be sent to the mom or dad, the patriarch, matriarch, owner, for them to know how they feel. And if the meeting's not the right place for them to vocalize that, then it can just be on a sheet of paper. But at least give them the chance to come up with an answer for themselves. So with that, I do not see any other questions on the live today. However, again, we'll be back next week, next Tuesday, 4 p.m. on YouTube. I'll also be trying to upload this onto Facebook for those who might be seeing this on Facebook. And I really am grateful for this opportunity and hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. We'll see you next week with another segment of protecting your farm business and succession planning. So thank you and have a great rest of your day.